I got a windfall. My wife and I are debating between investing it or paying down our mortgage, which is at 3.5%. We're both in our mid 50s.
Okay, so we've got a 3.5% mortgage. We're missing some data that would be really useful in that
Yeah.
question, just from my perspectives. Number one is how much is the mortgage versus the windfall? So,
Hmm.
in other words, I have $1 million mortgage and I got a $100,000 windfall, right? Versus I have a $50,000 mortgage and a $100,000 windfall,
Yeah.
right? Two big differences. Because if I take the 100,000 and put it in against that $1 million mortgage, I still owe 900. My payment doesn't change if it's a fixed mortgage.
Hmm.
Sounds like it might be if it's 3.5, right?
Yep.
Because right now it'd be higher than that if it was variable. And so I'm still going to make the same payment. Now I'll be paying more towards principal. I'll pay it off faster, but I'm still a really long ways away from paying that off on a normal basis. I still owe $900,000 on
Yeah,
that
you're only going
mortgage.
to save on that interest.
Yeah, and that's good, and there's something to be said for that. On the other hand, let's go the other direction. I'm just going to take the whole thing and invest it, right?
Yep.
Average rate of return for the stock market is 11% a year. Never seems to actually make 11. It makes some extremely high or low numbers, but that's the average. I hang in there. I go through that process, but I've got this fluctuation to deal with,
Hmm.
right? And so I kind of have this guaranteed. I know I'm going to pay off X, and I feel safe doing that inside my mortgage. And I've got this situation where I don't know what I'm going to get in the stock market. Um, and so if it's a small mortgage below the windfall, I might pay it off,
Yeah.
right? Because now I know that payment just disappeared, right? Boof. I've
Gives
now
you
got,
flexibility.
yeah, I got positive cash flow. In the other scenario where I got $1 million mortgage and 100,000 windfall, my cash flow hasn't changed. I'm still
Hmm.
making the same payment. I have to. I can't change that. I could theoretically go do it. I could refinance it, but you can't do that today. You're going to get 6%. So you're looking at 3.5 versus 11 for the stock market. You're looking at something guaranteed with paying off the mortgage, right? Versus something not. So I split the difference.
Yep.
That's what I'd look at. I'd split the difference. I'd put 50,000 toward the mortgage and 50,000 into investments. I think that's the best way to go because there's pros and cons that I think equal out fairly well for me. Not for everybody. I mean, some people just really don't believe in the stock market. Period.
Hmm.
They've had bad experience, and that's fine. So I think you really have to pay attention to your own belief system because you have to live within that belief system. I happen to believe in the stock market long term, and I think that's the way to go. And I've certainly seen my clients do very well with that. And that's why I kind of would do the 50-50 split between those. Pay some off the mortgage, good. Now the payment's still the same, but I'm paying more principal, right? Less interest in total. Put some in the stock market. Hopefully I average that 11% over the long term. And I can always sell that at some point in the future and put down more into the mortgage if I want to, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, and you have to think about this. It's purely numbers you can think about really easily, but it's an emotional decision too, and you're gonna have to be living with each other. So you kind of want to make a compromise that works for both of you.
right.
So you don't want to be black and white about it. You want to have a little bit more gray to it.
Yeah. I mean, personally, like if somebody came to me and said, what's the best way to pay down my mortgage, faster? I've got this excess money that I want to spend, not just like a windfall, but every month I've got extra money. I'd probably, again, depends on who it is, but for me, I probably do the same thing. I put half of that extra money towards the mortgage itself and half into a brokerage account where I'm buying the S&P 500 or something, and then I would let, the two might meet. So in other words, I'm paying down the mortgage, it's, to some level, and then my brokerage account is growing with my additions and hopefully the growth in the market. And then once they meet, maybe I sell the brokerage account, I pay taxes on the gains, and I use that to then get rid of the mortgage. So again, I'm splitting the difference between that, especially if it's a long ways off, still going to take me, even if I'm paying it off faster, still going to take me 10 years to do so. There's only been a couple 10-year periods in the stock market where there hasn't been made money, right? So, and most of the times it's done quite well. So anyway, that makes a difference. But it's a great question. It's come up before. We've heard that type of scenario quite a few times. Congratulations on the windfall.